Hi, my name is Marisa Padilla, and I've been a financial aid advisor for 3 years now. And today I want to go over some things just to help with the college seminar and career seminar classes so that you can kind of have a better idea about your financial aid. Some of the things that we're going to talk about today is just basically what financial aid is, how it applies to you, and just some general things about student loans. So first of all, what is financial aid? It's money to pay for college or career schools. Now, you do have to be in a degree-seeking program to receive financial aid. For Title IV aid, which is what we do out of our office, and we're just right across the hall here, so if you ever have any questions, you're welcome to stop by and ask us to look up your account for you. But grants, loans, work study, and scholarships all consist of the financial aid that we offer in our office. The different sources of financial aid, again, we are the federal office. State, which is the Arkansas Department of Higher Education, they offer things such as Go Grant and the Lottery Scholarship. College scholarships, those would be localized. Maybe your business department has scholarships available through their office. You can check with them to see what kind of opportunities you have there. Private scholarships, those would be business or a civic. Maybe your church has a scholarship for you. Those places are where you would get those. Be sure to know what you need to do to qualify. I just wanted to throw that in because some students require some type of testing. Maybe the ACT is a requirement. In some instances, the Compass test is required, and you'll have to have these things before you can apply for these programs. Okay, who can get federal student aid? These are just a generic little list of things that they're looking for. You must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. You need to have a GED or have a high school diploma. You need to be in an eligible degree or certificate program. We spoke about that before. All of our technical certificates and associate's degree programs are eligible for financial aid. However, it's the certificate of proficiency that is not eligible. You need to have a valid social security number. Males must have registered for selective service between the ages of 18 and 26. And you must be meeting satisfactory academic progress. Let me grab one of these off. Right back. Okay, so if you'll flip to the back of your page, or your handout, there's a purple sheet, and it says Pulaski Technical College Financial Aid Satisfactory Academic Progress Policy for credit hour programs. So if you're in a technical certificate or associate's degree and you're seeking these degrees using your financial aid, these are some guidelines you need to stick by. These things are what potentially could put you on warning or suspension, and a lot of students don't seem to be aware of these, so I like to go over them in the presentation. The first thing is if you're a freshman, which means you're under 29 credit hours, you have to have a minimum GPA of a 1.75. If you're a sophomore, which means you have 30 or more hours for our college, you would have to maintain a 2.0 GPA. These are required GPAs to stay in good standing. This does not necessarily mean that you wouldn't be able to be a student at our school and attend classes. It just means that you would not be eligible for the financial aid portion. Okay, the next little block says completion of courses, and this is another little chart. This one's a little bit more complicated. I usually just say that the semester hours attempted will start with 12, so this would be typically for a full-time student. When you're in 12 hours or more, you have to pass and keep your GPA above the minimum requirement, as we stated above, but you do have to complete 9 or more of those hours to stay in good standing. So what would happen is, say you came one semester, you started with 12 hours, and you had to drop 2 classes. So now you're under the 9-hour credit requirement. So what happens is that at the end of the semester, we would run our programs to align for students who are now going to be on warning. You would be on warning for not having your 9 hours. What that means for you in the future is that the following semester, you're still eligible for financial aid, but you would have to meet those requirements that semester to not be put on suspension by the end of that term. So by the next semester, say you took 12 hours again, you would just have to make that 9-hour minimum, and then you would be back in good standing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and skip to the suspension part, since this example talk to you how you could get on suspension. So say the next semester you had to withdraw, you had a medical emergency. So now you're on suspension because 2 semesters in a row you did not meet the requirements for SAP. So if you'll flip to the back of your sheet, it talks about what financial aid warning is, what it means, and the same thing as financial aid suspension. Now, for suspension, if you did get put on suspension at the end of your term, you will need to do one of two things. Either pay for school out of pocket the next semester to either meet the GPA requirement or pass the required number of classes. Or in some instances, you're eligible for what's called a student appeal. So if you're doing a financial aid appeal, we meet once a month. We have a committee that reviews all of the appeals, and you would have to document what emergency situation that you had in which you're basically asking them to give you another chance at your financial aid for another semester. So I like to tell students about that so you're educated on what your options are. And if you do go on suspension, feel free to come to our office and we can give you details on that according to your specific situation. Okay, and then the last part on this purple sheet, if you turn back to the front again, talks about maximum time frame to complete program. Now, this is going to change a little bit as far as how they're going to allow you to appeal in this case. So if you're associate degree seeking, you can get up to 100 credit hours before they'll put you on warning. At the end of that semester, you'll automatically go into suspension because you'll still be over that 100 credit hour mark. In this case, you would have to appeal to get financial aid to continue at our college. And just in general, people ask me this all the time, why am I on suspension when I still have a good GPA, I'm passing my classes? Basically, it's because we are a 2-year college, and for a 2-year college, our programs are typically about 68 to 70 credit hours. So once you're over 100 credit hours, we're just trying to make sure that you're actually pursuing your degree and you're on track. At that time, you're welcome to transfer to a 4-year if you feel that that's necessary, but either way, we would have to do an appeal to get you approved. Okay, so let's move back down, and we're going to go back to the thing here. Okay, so what will prevent me from getting federal aid? This is something that students don't really seem to know, and these are things that are definitely something that you have in your control to help you get your financial aid without having any kind of bumps in the road. The first thing is defaulted loans. What that means is that you have used up your grace period and you're now in repayment for student loans. So maybe you skipped a payment, or you forgot, or you didn't realize that your loans were in repayment and you have what's called a default. Your lender is stating that you've not made a payment. This will keep you from getting your financial aid. You could do the FAFSA and do all your paperwork and be ready for us, but if you have a defaulted loan, we still cannot give you further loans and Title IV aid. So I have put on here the NSLDS website, and what this is the National Student Loan Database System. This website tells you and any student who's ever gone to college, received aid. It also tells you every college you've attended. This way you can monitor your own aid and tell if you have a defaulted loan. Okay, the next thing that will prevent you from getting federal aid, and this is a huge one here at Pulaski Technical College. If you have attended any college other than Pulaski Technical College, you do have to get those transcripts turned into our office before your financial aid can be completed. So say you're a current student and you've been coming here for 3 or 4 years, and we tell you all of a sudden, oh, well, we found out you went to UCA one semester. You will have to bring that in, or it will keep your financial aid from being processed that semester. So these are some new things that are going on, and we're being very strict on transcripts. And we also have students who say, well, my college wasn't accredited. Well, it doesn't matter. At this point, we need all college transcripts to be able to award aid. Okay, and then here I just have the generic rundown of how federal student aid is determined. The EFC is something you'll hear in our office. It's called Expected Family Contribution. The FAFSA determines these amounts. It depends on many things like income, number in household, your age. All these things are factored in, and they determine how much eligibility you have for the Pell Grant. The only other thing that it would affect as far as loans would go is your subsidized loan is need-based, but the unsubsidized is not. So typically, if you don't have a high need for financial aid, as far as according to this calculation, they'll still give you the unsubsidized loans. And we'll talk about loans a little bit more here in a little bit. Okay, the cost of attendance is what we use at a 2-year college. It's typically smaller than a large 4-year college. So the cost of attendance for PTC is pretty low. So typically that can affect your how much aid you're going to get. So if you go to a 4-year college, they may be offering you $15,000 and we're only offering you maybe $10,000. And it's not that you're going to get more money at the other college. It's just typically that their fees are going to be higher. Okay. And how do I apply for Title IV federal aid? I'm going to kind of skim through this because we do have several pamphlets, and these are usually things that people are more familiar with, and I like to cover things that maybe you wouldn't know on a regular basis with financial aid. But the first thing you need to do as a new student would be to get a PIN number. I've put the website up here. It's pin.ed.gov. If you have a parent that you're dependent upon, your parent would also have to apply for a PIN number. Some things to know about your PIN: you need to choose it wisely so that you don't forget it, because it will always be your PIN number. Don't tell anyone your PIN, and don't forget it. If you do, it's very complicated to try to get a new one. Okay, so how do I apply for student aid? Number 2, fill out your free application for federal student aid. Key word here is free. If they are charging you to do this application, you are in the wrong website. Please just close out of that and go. You can either call us or you can Google search it. Either way, just make sure that you're not being charged for your application for federal student aid. Okay, I've put the website up here. It is FAFSA. It's not FAFSA, it's FAFSA. So I have a lot of students that get confused on that as well. So FAFSA. Okay, let's see. Now, after you've completed the FAFSA, I like to point out to everyone that you do not necessarily have financial aid at this point. All that means is it's an application. They're going to send your schools that you've chosen just a generic ballpark number of what they estimate your financial aid is going to be. Again, it is an estimation, and it is not an award letter. An award letter is where we promise you a certain amount of money according to how many classes you're enrolled in, and we'll get to that next. Okay, so now you've done your FAFSA, and you're wanting to know, what do I do now? Do I sit around and wait for an email? Are they going to mail me a letter? Well, what's going to happen is this is where typically you're either doing the admissions process with Pulaski Technical College, or you are a current student and you already have a portal set up. So either way, what you're going to need to do is get to the access to MyPTC portal to track what financial aid documents you're going to be turning in. The portal is going to be changing in the near future, so if you have any questions about the changes, feel free to come in our office and we'll let you know at that time. Okay? All right, so now that you have tracked your financial aid, the first thing you're going to need to fill out is called the data form. This is anybody who's receiving financial aid at our institution. The next step would be to see if you are selected for verification. If so, these documentations could take typically we say 4 to 6 weeks. If you apply early, say by the deadline, which is May 15th, to have financial aid ready by the fall semester, then sometimes we can get you done a little bit quicker. But just be mindful that if you're waiting until August 1st to apply for financial aid and classes start, say August 15th, it's going to be very hard for us to get you awarded by that time. So be prepared to make a payment plan in those situations. Okay, so once you've been awarded, we'll put this on your MyPTC under your online award letter. You're going to decide to accept or decline your aid. Typically, the Pell Grants are automatically accepted for you because it's something you don't typically have to pay back, so we assume that you're going to want the grants. As far as the loans, you do have to formally accept those because we cannot force loans on you. Okay, so now you've been awarded and you've accepted your financial aid, and the next thing you would do is decide whether or not you have to do the Master Promissory Note. The Master Promissory Note is simply a contract that you fill out with the government stating that you understand the conditions of the loan and that you do have to pay them back at some point. The entrance interview is also a requirement now, and that's a tutorial that explains what loans are. It gives you an idea. You can put in like what your income is now, and it'll generate how much your loan repayments would be, things like that, just to kind of help you be educated on what you're accepting. Okay, once these final steps are complete, you're finished with the financial aid process, and your refund will be passed out through the business office. That's the cashier's window at the end of the hall. Okay, on this slide, I like to show students, they're always asking, well, how do I accept my award letter? So I like to just pull up this slide real briefly. This is typically what you're going to see when you go to your MyPTC portal, and you're going to click on Campus Connect. Here at the very top row, you'll see online award letter. Following that is financial aid summary, and beneath that is account status. These first two, online award letter and financial aid summary, are the financial aid related links. The account status is the business office's link. So this, for student accounts, when you ask about your refund, that's where you would look on your account status. So here's a typical online award letter. This is the format that you'll typically see. Be sure to read everything as you're starting to, go through and look at all the bullets and read everything so that you understand. Pell Grant, as you can see here, it says accepted. That was automatically accepted. Now here I don't show how you can increase and decrease, but when you do this for the first time, this is somebody who's already accepted their awards. You'll have an up and down arrow and you can decide how much loans that you're willing to take. You don't have to take the maximum each year. Okay, so at the very bottom, I like to, and in the handout I have these blown up so that you guys can really read through these notices. This talks about what, if you flip to this page right here that talks about loan borrowers, this is the bottom of your award letter, and it's very important for you to read these things. Typically, students just accept the award and just move on and push submit, but I've printed this so you can really understand what the conditions of the financial aid are and what you're accepting. Okay, and then the next page, that's again the very bottom of your award letter. Okay, so now let's go back to Campus Connect. When you go back to Campus Connect, and you're now going to select Financial Aid Summary. After you've done your online award letter, you will not go back in there to do anything unless maybe you're making a change. Where you're going to monitor your aid is on this page like this. It's just a big chart, and there's a whole bunch of numbers in here, and of course they're going to look all confusing. But underneath that, there's also, it says document tracking information. This is either going to have titles in red or green. The red titles mean those are things that we're still waiting for you to turn in, or the green means that we've already received it. So typically, so you really want to have everything in green. Okay, so on this chart, really what I want everyone to be concerned with is, if you look at the transmitted column, which is the furthest column on the right, this is where you're really looking for your refund amounts, because everybody says that, well, it says I have awarded amount, but that hasn't transmitted. Well, the transmitted amount happens around refund date. Also, especially now, we have 2 disbursements, and we'll go over that in a few minutes about what date is your actual refund coming. But for loans, you'll have 2 disbursements. So at one point, you'll see half of your transmitted amount. That's going to be half of the awarded amount for your loan. Now, also be mindful that there are processing fees, and those come off the top of the loan. Okay, so let's go to the next page. Disbursement and refund date. So this is really important, and everybody always has questions. So let's go to that page. Okay, what is my refund date? This is a very, very important sheet for everyone. Okay, first-time borrowers. That means not necessarily is it your first time to have a loan, but it's your first time to have a loan and it's your first time at college. Your refund is going to your refund date is going to be determined by your direct deposit or if you're getting a check. So if you're doing direct deposit, make sure that you understand there's a 30-day delay. The first refund for direct deposit on first-time borrowers is September 26th, 2013. The second refund is going to be just like everybody else's. It's going to be October 24th. Now, if you're receiving a check and you did not sign up for a direct deposit, your refund will be on a little bit of a delay. So it's already on the 30-day delay. Now you're going to be September 29th for your first disbursement of your loan. The second refund check you can pick up, like everybody else again, is October 29th. So typically the only difference between a first-time borrower and a current student is the first refund check. The second refund checks are going to be on the same dates. So for previous borrowers, people who've already had financial aid before and have been attending PTC, their first refund for direct deposit is September 13th, and second direct deposit October 24th, and then for checks it's going to be September 17th. Now, if you ever are confused about what these dates are, the business office has put up a new, it's almost like a computer monitor where you can look and see the dates, and it flips through and tells you those dates, and they're also willing to explain to you what date your refund will be. Now, the only thing that will change your refund dates is, say your financial aid wasn't awarded till October 2nd. Then, of course, you're not going to have the September checks, but your financial aid will just catch up accordingly. And a few things on this slide that I want to point out. It says disbursement and refund dates. Disbursement is when the funds are initiated and transmitted to the college. So I know we say those a lot. We say disbursement and refund at the same time, but disbursement is really when the school gets the money. The refund is when we can actually give you a check for that refund amount. Okay. Now, One of the other things really quick I want to talk about is if you drop classes, say in the middle of the semester, this could affect your eligibility. So I have some students that think they're going to get a refund check, but if you change your student status, it could affect your financial aid. Okay, and real quickly, I just want to talk a few things about direct loan program. Now, this is what we offer through our office. This is the William D. Ford Direct Loan Program, which is federal aid. So the things that most people may not really think about when it comes to loans. Remember, loans are things that do have to be repaid. They will go into repayment once you drop below half-time status. So if, say, I'm a freshman and I have to drop out of school to go work full-time for a year, and then I come back and I want to go back into financial aid, you have to remember that during that year that I was gone, 6 months have gone by that I've not been a half-time student. So repayment would have started even though I didn't already graduate with a bachelor's or an associate's or a technical certificate. So it's not about when you graduate necessarily, it's about when you drop below 6 hours. Okay, the lifetime maximum for independent students for student loans is $57,500. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but students, if you're taking the maximum each year, you can run out and say you're taking $10,000 a year, you can max out within 5 years. And if you're dropping classes or you're withdrawing one semester because of medical emergencies, things like that, you could be very easily run out of your financial aid before you graduate with your degree. So be mindful and try to spread it out best you can, okay? Let's see, know all that you owe. Again, in SLDS, we talked about this earlier. Make sure that you're monitoring that to know what your loan status is. Interest does accrue on the unsubsidized loan. So after you graduate or you drop into below half-time status, you'll see that the principal balance, say you borrowed $10,000, the interest will be added to that balance. So be sure that you're monitoring your interest as well. Okay, some different types of statuses that your loan can be in. Deferment, most students who have returned to college and had student loans that were in repayment, you can be put on what's called deferment. You just need to contact your lender, let them know that you're going to be enrolled at least half-time at a university or college, and they will be willing to put your loan to deferment. Now, this does mean that your interest will still continue to accrue. It just means that you will not be responsible for your payments for that time. Bad news about this, though, is that you won't be making payments to your loans, so they're going to still be increasing. They will not be decreasing for you. So not making those payments could extend your payment plan over the lifetime of the loan. Forbearance, this is, say you're not a student and you're paying back your loans, you're working, and say your car breaks down and you need to focus, your income on that. You can call your lender and say, hey, can you put me in forbearance and give me a break for a few months because I can't make my payments, I'm struggling financially. Then typically they can decide that for you to give you a break for a few months if you need to focus your energy other places. Default, we discussed this earlier. Default can be shown on your credit report. This is bad news for you guys who are trying to take out loans or buy a home or buy a car or something like that. So make sure you monitor your loans and just keep up with your payments. They do have the option for deferment and forbearance, so hopefully that can keep you from ever going into default on your loans. Consolidation. This is a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. Everybody says, oh yeah, I just want to graduate, I'm going to consolidate all my loans and then it's going to be lower interest, yada, 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 yada. When you're going to consolidate, if you have multiple loans, you do want to check on the interest rate of each loan. It could very well be that paying off one of your loans first could be cheaper in the long run than going ahead and consolidating at a higher rate. So just be mindful that when you are trying to consolidate, you contact all your lenders, find out all that you can. Here's a link right here for an online calculator to help you see what you think your monthly payments would be. And sometimes if you still have independent loans, your monthly payments could be smaller when they're split than if they're consolidated. So just get educated. I have a phone number on here as well that you can call. We have resources in our office to try to help you get a hold of those lenders as well. Types of student loans, we've talked about this several times. Subsidized. This is when the government will pay your interest while you're enrolled half-time. That does not mean they're paying your loan for you. It just means that your interest is not accruing. Therefore, when you graduate, the principal that you borrowed is all that you would owe. unsubsidized, again, the one where you're responsible for the interest while you're in college, and that will be added to your principal balance at the end of your schooling. Okay, a rare one, it isn't very popular, but it is there for you dependent students who need additional aid. Parent plus loans are where your parent takes out the loan on your behalf so that you could get more loan eligibility. Student loan limits, again, dependent, if you're a freshman or a sophomore, dependent students have a lower unsubsidized eligibility than the independent students, which again you can make up for by doing the Parent Plus loan if you need additional funds. Student loan limits for independent, $6,000 is the unsubsidized amount that you can take there, but freshman, sophomore status also $3,500 for subsidized, and remember that subsidized is need-based, so typically if you can't get the whole $3,500, they might compensate by giving you a little bit more unsubsidized. So just be mindful of those. A couple of things about loan eligibility: must be eligible for Title IV aid. So if you've done the FAFSA and you are told that you're eligible for a certain dollar amount, typically that's pretty accurate, but you do have to do the FAFSA to apply for loans. Have to be enrolled at least half time. As soon as you go under 6 hours, you will lose whatever loans that you had. So say you were enrolled in 6 hours part-time and you had to drop a class for some reason and now you're only in 3 hours. Then if you have not gotten your second disbursement, you will forfeit that second disbursement. In some cases, if you withdraw from the entire semester, you could be responsible for paying back portions of those loans. Okay, and when you are moving on from Pulaski Technical College to a four-year college or maybe just another university, you can do what's called exit counseling for our college. That's just a little, kind of like the entrance counseling. It's a tutorial, but it tells you what to expect now that you're leaving the institution. You will have to do a new entrance counseling for the new college you attend, but this is a way for them to monitor where you're going to school next. Maybe it'll ask you for an address, up-to-date information, so they can contact you once it's time to make repayment. Okay, and here are some of the generic repayment plans, and I'll let you read these over yourself, and these are available on the Department of Higher Education website as well as our website. And of course, your lender themselves can give you options for repayment. Okay, and finally, know what you owe. We've talked about this again. It's just so important. nslds.ed.gov. This is how we monitor your aid, and this is where you should monitor your own. 1-800-4-FED-AID is the generic number if you're needing to contact Department of Higher Ed to ask questions. And then, of course, you have the Pulaski Technical College Financial Aid Office in Campus Center Building in 212, again, across the hall. Our number is 812-2289. We answer the phones up to 4:30, but our office is open until 6, Monday through Thursday. Fridays, we still close at 4:30. And then, again, if you have any questions about your specific account, you can email finaid@pulaskitech.edu, and one of our advisors will get back to you. So if you have any other questions, feel free to come in the office. And again, my name is Marisa Padilla, and I appreciate you guys coming to see me today. Thank you. Bye-bye.